Welcome everyone to today's podcast. I am Martine and this is Martine's Musings. My guest today is Morgana Ray. She is a spiritual life and business coach and also an author of the author of Financial Alchemy. So welcome Morgana. How are you?
Oh, I'm great. I'm very happy to be here, Martine.
Thank you for being here. So was really interested in having you on the show because what your expertise is helping people with their relationship with money. And I know everyone's always interested in that. So tell me about a little bit about what you do in
Uh,
terms of that.
well, it's funny because when I started coaching, what I coach, nobody was talking about this. And it was a
Hmm.
kind of a really um, open field. Uh, and I came to what I teach today and why it's so weird and different. Even still, like 20 years later, it's
Hmm.
still not the same as law of attraction. It's not the same as millionaire mindset. The other stuff can work really well. I have a master practitioner of EFT in Thailand. Her stuff works better with what I'm going to teach you. But
Hmm.
honestly, everything I teach you is because I tried everything else first and failed. This should look like a giant L on my forehead right now. I just I'm the girl who got the good grades, went to the good school, took just swallowed every promise. Get
Yes.
good grades, go to a good school, get a good job, be set for life. It didn't work that way for me at all. So I just kept piling on more education, more certifications, more testimonials, marketing classes. I'm really, really good at marketing,
Hmm.
sales classes, all of it. And it didn't matter. It just didn't move the dial. At the lowest point, I was living in Los Angeles. This is
Hmm.
just over 20 years ago. I already had a bunch of celebrity clients because I live in LA and I was already coaching uh, actors, writers, directors, producers with no credits, booking series, booking big budget films, selling films, winning awards, all that kind of stuff. Tons of testimonials, great reputation. And I was living in LA making $100 a month.
How did you
Right?
survive? My goodness.
You don't. You just
Yeah.
live on debt and hope.
Right.
And the hope ran out.
Hmm.
And all this time that I wasn't, and it was horrible because I knew I could produce results, but there's also, God, this awful, shameful secret of I'm telling you I can help you with your life, and I know I'm not making any money to support myself, that I'm
Right.
living on borrowing and credit card debt and taking more classes, working with a coach, even though I'm not making enough for rent or anything. Um, and I had this just, what do they call it in 12-step program? Oh, right. Yeah. I'm not in that, but I grew up in a 12-step family. So
Okay.
uh, I had my moment of hitting bottom where I had just taken this class in overcoming sales objections. I'm just always looking for the answer outside of me. And this is sort of my Hail Mary. If I learn the
Hmm.
magic words, then I'll make money. If I get another certification, then I'll make money. If I learn relationship coaching, then I'll make it. So it's always like if when, right?
Yeah.
Uh, so I'd taken this class in overcoming sales objections where they give you scripts for what to say if somebody says I can't afford it or I don't have time, blah, blah, blah. Um, and I'm such a good student that 7 people in a row, I overcame their objections, and 7 people in a row did not show up for our first session and never paid me. And it was that final one that was when I collapsed.
Right.
I'd done everything every coach had told me to do. I'd done everything every class had told me to do. I had all these friends who were coaches who were
Right.
not getting results like I got for their clients who were actually making a living. So I discovered I could feel superior and inferior simultaneously.
Mm-hmm.
And some of you know what I'm talking about. And when that seventh person stood me up, that was just it. Like there was nothing left to do. And I just completely ran out of hope. And I remember being in my teeny tiny little 1-bedroom apartment that I still could not afford. And I dragged, shut the blackout curtains, got on my bed, and I just started to scream and
Mm-hmm.
cry and wail. And I felt so hurt and so angry and so rejected by the universe. And I hated the universe back. And I just really, really didn't want to be here.
Yeah.
It's a frightening place.
Yeah,
And
that's a tough spot to be in. But how did you, I obviously you got out of that spot,
that
that
was
space. How did you get out of that space?
not the way I expected. And the reason I share that before picture is honestly, anybody who is listening or watching who is in one of those dark places, you have a huge advantage in this process. I know that there are a lot of super well-intentioned, nice people, coaches out there teaching lots of stuff like law of attraction, like equals like, that if you have low vibes, you'll attract blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
That's not my experience. My
Mm-hmm.
experience is when you are in that really dark place, it's sort of like a slingshot and you're creating a lot of tension. It is the perfect moment for transformation because you have so much leverage. You have so much motivation. You have from a neuroscientific point of view, it's like all your neurology is lit up and your
Right.
brain is ready to change, to be rewired. So in the process that I want to cover today, the person who is in that anxiety and pain right now, you're already like 95, 99% of the way there. And those of us who are more content just have to dig more. That's all.
Yeah.
So I was in that really, really bad, dark place. And I had a call with my coach. So it's ridiculous that I had a coach. But thank goodness I did because it
I
saved
was
my
wondering.
life.
I was like, how did you have a coach? Did you not
Priorities.
pay your coach or because I know
No,
like some coaches
actually,
work together like barter
yeah.
services.
I just made my coach my priority
Mm-hmm.
before everything else. You have to do
Okay.
what works for you.
Yeah, for sure.
But this is what worked for me. And I had been working with him for months. And he was actually a peer. We got certified, my first certification at the same time, but he was
Mm-hmm.
taking off and I really liked his way of coaching. And I would try to do what he told me to do and I would execute it, but I wouldn't get the results. And then he and I would just not know why. But this day, when I was like just dumping all this despair,
Right.
he had this inspiration to ask me this really strange question. Who knows where it came from? That changed my life. And he asked me, if your money was a person, who would your money be? And because I was in so much pain
Mm-hmm.
and kind of hopeless, it's like that question overrid my conscious, logical thinking brain and went straight to my heart. And I immediately saw the person. And it wasn't what I expected. My money in that moment in time was this big, scary, dirty, violent, white supremacist biker dude with tattoos and bald and the sideburns and he was just scary.
Mm-hmm.
Like I could feel he was a bad dude. And everything inside of me wanted to protect myself from him. And I had this instant visualization of being at a live event with this guy, keeping my eye on him constantly to create maximum distance between us. And that was my big aha moment. Because until I made him a person, I had no idea that I was 24/7 creating maximum distance between myself and money. And And I wouldn't understand why unless I saw who he was and
Right.
felt in my whole being how dangerous he was. He caused fights. He got in the way of love, and he would kill me.
Did you experience someone like that in your
No,
life?
no, no. He was completely 100% imaginary.
Hmm.
But my financial situation made sense for the first time in my life.
Okay.
I got rid of the biker dude because I knew there was no way that I could have money in my life if it was him. And that created a new problem, which is a frequent refrain in my life. Yay, oh heck, stronger language.
Right.
It's like every solution creates like the next opportunity. And
Hmm.
so I got rid of money. Wait, I need money.
Yeah, exactly. Wait, I need you actually.
Yeah,
It's like
but it can't.
yeah, I feel like money can sometimes feel like a love-hate relationship
Well, that's
in
the
that
thing.
way.
That's the thing. We're not imagining the problem. I mean, money is the number one excuse human beings give for what we can't have, do, or be. I'm a life and business spiritual coach. Why do I
Hmm.
focus on money? Because money is the ultimate pain door, because it's the great limiter. It is a perfect mirror to our relationship with life. Even clients who have millions, hundreds of millions, billions of dollars come to me because they've got pain and anxiety that keeps them up at night because they're
It's
afraid of
caused by
losing
money.
it. They feel like there's a target on their back. It's getting in the way of their primary love relationships. They become the bank instead of the person. There's lots of stuff on the extremes of not having enough to survive and then having so much and still feeling in danger. It's getting in the
Hmm.
way of love or lifestyle or legacy that makes it a monster. So,
Yeah. So tell us
and
how to slay that monster.
so the great thing about money being a person is, so I asked, what do you need from me so that you can stay with me the way you
Hmm.
want to? And when you ask, you get an answer. And he said, I need you to love me and stop treating me like a monster. And I could feel
Yeah.
the vulnerability. And he was good and deserving of my trust and my love. And I didn't want to be a jerk. So I agreed. And then we had to figure out, well, what does that look like in practice? What does that
Right.
mean? And he kind of pointed out all the times he had brought me clients and they would ask me what I charged. And I would go, and all this shame would boil up. This shame and anxiety about taking somebody's money when I just want to
Hmm.
help. But I was like, all this shame, like there was this stinky, embarrassing, hideous monster that everybody was going to see if I named my fee, if I charged anything at all. And
Right.
I never even knew that I felt that way until I took a look at that with my money, honey. So I made a deal and I said, next time he brought me a gift, instead of going, ew, I would go, thank you. And that would look like, this is my fee. Isn't he beautiful? And I would
Yeah.
shut up. 4 people contacted me within 24 hours and hired me at double what I'd ever charged before. And I have to say that initially it was so uncomfortable because my body, my like mouth and my vocal cords were so used to talking people out of the sale, and I never knew that I was doing it.
Right.
But now that I had this consciousness, I had to just observe myself, sit on my hands, bite my tongue, and allow people to simply hire me and accept their money and say thank you and coach them. Coaching was the
Hmm.
easy part. So you had a couple of questions that I need to answer.
Yes. The slaying of the 6 steps to slaying your money monster.
Okay, so I'm going to break it down for you.
Hmm.
Step number 1 is uncover the root cause. This, and by the way, it's a foundation. It's like every step builds on the other. So you have to get this one. I think this one is unless you're already in that place, that dark place, this
Yeah.
needs some digging. I call this process financial alchemy because alchemy is the transmutation of lead into gold,
Right.
human leaden experience
Hmm.
into spiritual and material gold. This is uh, spiritual tradition going back thousands of years, and shows up, I think, in any practice that believes that your inner life changes your results.
Yes,
And
it
I
does.
grew up in a family of lawyers and doctors and rocket scientists, like who actually like sent probes to Mars and all that kind of stuff. So I grew up wanting the world to be, you do X plus Y and it equals Z, end of story. And it's so frustrating that that has not been my experience. My experience is 99% of my results, and it still annoys me to this day. 99% of my results are a mirror of what's going on inside of me. So when I'm not getting the results, I come back and I do my own process again. So step number 1 is uncover the root cause. What is causing the block of abundance? I usually talk about money. I did it on love and met my husband 2 months later when I was 45 years old. We're now like 26 weddings into getting married 100 times in 100 countries, but that's another story.
I saw that on your website. That's very
It's
cute.
fun. I like him. Okay. 8 years and I'm still on a honeymoon. So
That's great.
the root cause of your money dramas, whatever they are, it's never about the money. I know a lot of teachers love to say, change your money story, change your life. If that works for you, great, great. You don't have to listen to me. Do what works for you.
Right.
If you're like me and you need a little more, in my experience, and I've coached thousands of clients, I have never, ever, ever, ever found the money monster in the money story. It's deeper than that. It's what money represents. I mean, we just made up money, but it's so like icky, sticky, uncomfortable because it represents really deep, vulnerable stuff about, am I loved? Am I lovable?
Yeah.
Am I valued? And am I worthy? That's the second one.
Right.
The third one, am I safe? And you take that to its full extent. Do I even have a right to exist? We measure all of that with money. We admire the creepiest people sometimes because they're rich.
Right.
That does, and by the way, being rich doesn't make you bad. It just illuminates who you are. So they're also very, very, very good rich people, just like, you know, any other people. It just magnifies who you are, kind of shines a light.
Right.
So anything that ever made you feel unloved, unsafe, or unworthy, anything that you're ashamed of, any like, or accidents, violence, illnesses, eating disorders, abuse, rejection, any of that kind of stuff is going to show up in your relationship with money. So that's where you look: love, worth, and safety. That's where the root cause is. And it's almost like you're an attorney against the quality of your own life, going up to God saying, look at all this that happened to me. You totally take off your positive thinking hat and you're really making a case for all the bad stuff. This is the lead. Remember, we're changing lead into gold. We start by really focusing on the lead. Very tempting to minimize it and say, well, everybody goes through that. That's not going to help you. That's when you mix the gold and the lead, you have mud. I call it money mud, and you get stuck. So we only want to go in the wrong direction here. Anything that hurt you, anything that betrayed you, anything that made you feel not good enough, including you, other people, parents, teachers, friends, lovers, business partners, employers, employees, whatever. Any in your life, it's very personal to you. It's like your monster is going after you so that you don't want to live. Which brings us to step number 2, is once you've dug up enough ick to go, ugh, and extra points if you're crying, but not necessary. Don't go so far that you dissociate. It's not necessary to re-traumatize yourself. You don't have to go that far. You just need to get enough to go, whoa, I feel this. Then you go to step number 2, which is now you blame it on this. You imagine that there's a person who's responsible for all of it. This is a big leap of imagination, but we're not going to blame you and we're not going to blame your parents. You're going to have this external entity who's like has been crafting all this awfulness since maybe before you were born. And that is going to be your relationship with money. All abuses of power, all abuses of love, anything that has ever made you feel unloved, unworthy, unsafe, or powerless, you want to put that, and that is your relationship with money personified. That is step number 2. You give personhood to the root cause, and we call it your money monster. Step 3 is you annihilate that monster by any means necessary. My tribe, my followers tend to be the spiritual folk,
Right.
the love and light crowd.
Mm-hmm.
Even the ones who own big data companies, telecommunication companies, cattle ranches, like such a variety of people. They're still closet mystic, love and light spiritual folk, a lot of vegans. So when I say, no, you're going to kill the beast, can be like, whoa. There's something so sacred and powerful about rejecting what does not belong in your life experience. Choose yourself, reject what you don't want, and annihilate it, like Goddess Durga of India. Or
Okay, I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
What if, I mean, you're saying to annihilate it, right? But what if you are someone who has, a bad relationship with money, who doesn't think they're worthy of charging? Like for me, for instance, as I'm a perfect example, it's not that I don't think I'm worthy of charging for my readings or what have you. It's just that sometimes, like at the beginning, I had a hard time with putting a price on my readings and sticking to it, and feeling like, well, I felt like people don't want to don't want to invest in their growth.
Put
And
that in the monster. Don't even come up with a price tag until the monster is out of the room. Okay. So any voice in you that says people don't want to pay you for your services, or you are hurting people, or you're putting money before love or people, any of that crap, you put that in the monster. And you take a look at, and this is, by the way, why you really need to go deeper than just the money stuff. And any of you who have children, this is really, really useful. Imagine you are passing your money monster onto your children, and what that will do to their own lives and their own self-worth and their own happiness and their own life choices. Right. And so there's a part of you that needs to destroy the monster for them.
yes.
So all of that limitation that people won't pay, that actually relates to much, much, much earlier stuff. And now I'm just channeling for you. If someone somewhere told you that you were not wanted enough and were not worthy enough, and I don't, I'm not even going to say who or how far back, but I want you to go for the pain. One of the most important things in this process is to get out of your head. You must get out of your head and into your body when you do it. You will not see or feel, the monster will not be real to you until you are in that place of, oh my God, I hurt. I have been hurt. I have been rejected by the people I loved the most, who were supposed to love me. I have betrayed myself so many times. The world is so unfair. I look outside myself and I see what is being done, and I hurt. And that's where you want to go. And when it's big enough, that's when you imagine some person, and maybe it's a public figure, or maybe it is completely imaginary, but it feels real, not cartoonish, feels human. And he hates you. And he wants to hurt you. By the way, it can be a she or a they. It's most often a he. It doesn't really matter. Mine have always been he's. Right. And then you have to decide who gets to survive, the monster or you. who do you choose? And you put everything that you do not want to carry forward in your life experience into that monster, and you blow him up. Mm-hmm. Now, that's one way to get rid of him. Mm-hmm. There are just, I love the variety. Clients have stabbed, clients have had lightsabers. I'm a big fan of flamethrowers, volcanoes, fiery pits, sharks. One client ran over her monster with a monster truck. How can you not love that? Whatever it is thou shalt not pass. Right. Which sounds very Monty Python at the moment. But, thou shalt not pass. I choose me. It's the experience of victimhood, which we really, really want to use and embrace in step one, because it has power and it has a gift, or it wouldn't exist. We really want to, it's sacred. So we really dive into your victim experience in step number 2. Then we blame in step number 1. Then we blame in step number 2. And step number 3 is kind of that holy warrior, that like flame that rises up out of that victim experience and rejects it. Right. And creates the vacuum. And that's the change. And then when you've rejected everything that is that monster that you don't want in your life experience, all that remains is love. And we're going to give love personhood. And then we're going to call love money, because money is that area of life that needs our love and healing as individuals and as a species. Mm-hmm. And then that's step 4, counting. Step 5 is now we have a conversation with that new person, because we have the bodies, we have the agency, we are the gatekeepers. Right. This is not an exercise in sit on a couch, visualize a cute money and tell him what you want and he'll do it for you. Your money honey is not a fairy who is going to live your life for you, because that doesn't evolve you. That's not why you showed up in a bodysuit in this lifetime. You are the superhero. Right. And your money is like your boy Robin, your sidekick. Who loves you and reminds you of who you are when you forget. Is the eyes with which you can see who you really are in all of your power and glory and creativity and resourcefulness that you forget about, because life is distracting and illusion is seductive, and having a body is confusing, especially if you're a woman. Yeah. So you have that conversation, and I like to start with, what do you need from me? Not what do you need to love me, because number 1 rule of the money honey is your money honey loves you, chooses you, loves you more than anybody else in the world. Your money honey is a he, she, or a they. Your flavor, just whatever is going to light you up and make you feel loved and inspired and excited.
So you ask the question, what do I need?
What does your money honey need from you, powerful you, so that your money honey gets to stay with you the way he, she, or they want to? Right. And then step number 6 is action. Right. Now, a secret based on thousands of people. When you ask the question, what do you need from me? Your money honey is going to be really Yoda like most of the time. And it's going to be like, I need you to love yourself, or I need you to trust me, or the worst of all for us women, I need you to relax. Great. All of it is correct. And it's really good advice. And I have never, ever, ever met a human being who is capable of loving herself all the time, 24/7, consciously and perfectly. Right. Or trusting all the time, 24/7, perfectly and consciously and all that. Just so that's the highway. That's the road. That's where we're headed. But I want you to have a win. And I want to make the change real, and I want you to have physical results. So step
Mm-hmm.
number 6 is take concrete physical action, because action is magical. Waiting is like the worst, most helpless feeling for me. Action gives you a win. It gives you something to do that I could call you next week and say, did you do it or you didn't? And you could tell me.
Right.
And what that action is, that's the fun part. Nobody knows until you start to discuss it with your money honey. And very often it's not going to be something obvious. It's not going to be, or it could be. It could be pay your bills. It could be balance your checkbook. It could be file your taxes. It could be. But very often it's something out of left field, like go skating, go dancing, get a pedicure. And the way you know is you just discuss it with your money honey, and you see what lights your money honey up, what makes them go, yes. And then you do it. And I have a lot of examples of clients who like made a deal to do the thing and then they didn't, and nothing changed until they did it.
Right.
And that's when things happen. When Katie on the 3rd day finally went skating, she went home and got a phone call and $10,000 without asking. When Janet took that walk that she put off for a week because she was too busy trying to make money, she took a walk in the sunshine, met 2 people, and signed her highest paying client to that, up to that date. I can't remember her name, but I had this attorney who stayed home to do laundry and got a phone call and a $20,000 client. So,
So I'm feeling like our money honey is our intuition. Am I getting
yes.
that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, if we're going to get really philosophical, like,
Mm-hmm.
we're all a mirror of ourselves and
Mm-hmm.
we're all little focal points of consciousness.
Yeah.
And part of our consciousness, part of the game of being a human being, is to develop a whole like bag, like that bottomless bag of Mary Poppins of neuroses and experiences and stuff that
Mm-hmm.
can really get in the way of our best genius thinking.
Right.
Back to neuroscience, because I'm a total geek. When we're in fear zone, and nothing activates fear like the topic of money. There was a scientific study that came out in 2009 that I love, where they wired people's brains, and when people were thinking about love and family and picnics, they just got relaxed and expansive, and their frontal lobe, their genius lobe, just activated, and they were all generosity and brilliance. And then they brought up the topic of money, and it all shut down.
Right.
And the total reactive, frightened, me, scared, defensive, competitive, reptile limbic brain in the back wakes up. So, and that's not the best place to make choices. Every politician knows that.
Mm-hmm.
People selling at you, preying on your fears, know that. So that's not where you want to make your decisions. You want to use that part to create the monster and then slay the monster. And then when you move into love and you collapse money and love together into one force, then you get to look at the topic of money from your genius zone. Every time you slip into your money honey's perspective, you are activating your frontal lobe, and you are being your most creative, resourceful self. So when you've slayed the monster and you've got this money honey, and you can sit on a couch and you can look at the crazy circumstances that brought you to this podcast right now.
Mm-hmm.
And you can look at them as a loving couple, maybe sitting on your money honey's lap. And you can look at all this drama as if you're watching TV, and you can look at it together. Your money honey is going to see it differently. You're going to see it differently. As a team, you're going to see, even before circumstances change, everything's changed. Your relationship to yourself and life has changed, and you're better equipped to see the opportunities and the
Hmm.
priorities and make better choices. And that's when things change. Yes, there are a lot of like weird, out of the blue kind of manifestation stories all over my website.
Hmm.
That is, I would say, a nice garnish, because I can't predict or promise or know what is going to happen when. But what I can promise is you will make better choices, and the world will respond to you better when you are really rooted in your self-worth and your self-love and your confidence and optimism, healthy boundaries, and
Yep.
you're seeing what's available to you, and how worthy you are of what you want.
Indeed. Definitely. Indeed. Yeah. So that was really good, and I feel like even for myself, I could take away a lot of good tips for my relationship with money. Because, like I said before, I long had a love-hate relationship with money because I grew up always feeling like there wasn't enough for me to do the things that I needed to do and that I wanted to do.
Well, you're a human being.
Hmm.
And that's the number one excuse for what we can't have, do, or be. And we're taught that from our parents. And I want to
Yeah.
layer on, you're also carrying the burden of a lot of really heavy systemic stuff that you are
Hmm.
not imagining. So, abuses of power, ancestral stuff, your
Hmm.
family, mine too, different stories,
Hmm.
but the pain and the fear and the trauma is real. And you
Hmm.
want to put
Very
that,
much.
and you want to put that in the monster, because you've already lived through it. So it's like you've paid the price of admission. Now it's time to cash in.
Yep.
Um, I love to talk to healers because we feel the pain of the world. That's part of our talent, is the
Hmm.
fuzzy boundaries.
Yes.
Is really, really useful for our intuition and our empathy. And we need to learn how to set healthy, healthy, healthy boundaries from a place of love for our own sustainability, so there can be healers in the world having an
Right.
impact.
Hmm.
It's our job.
Yes, it
Uh,
is.
so,
Box. But I still wanted to find out. I wanted you to show your book,
ah,
Financial Alchemy.
yes.
Yeah. And when did you
Um,
write that?
Actually, I wrote this in 2006. I had just found out that a bunch of my friends were speaking at the Conscious Life Expo in Los Angeles.
Hmm.
And I heard that they were speaking there. I never heard of it before, but my instant reaction was, oh, but I want to speak at the Conscious Life Expo. And by the way,
Right.
I am a master manifester by whining. I kid you not, because within an hour of whining that to the universe, I got a call from my publicist giving me a free booth and a free speaking slot
Get out.
into
Get out.
the Conscious Life Expo. And you'll also remember earlier I said that I have this motif of, yay, I got what I want. Oh, crap, I got what I wanted. Now what?
Hmm. Now I got to do it.
Right. Well, the thing is, I realized all I had to sell was coaching. And that's sort of like proposing marriage on the first date. It's a bit much to only offer that option. And I knew I needed something else to offer. And I had been thinking about writing a book for years. And I also had this system of manifestation that that I had developed for myself, that I was using for myself, that kind of transitioned me from like perpetual frustration to overachieving all of my big, hairy, whatever goals each year. So I combined the two, and I wrote the stuff that had been on my mind, including this process, and then what happens next and what happens next, and the stuff that I had observed by coaching so many people. And that's the first half of the book. And the second half of the book is just manifestation, staying on track with your money, honey, and strategic planning and making things happen as if by magic, making things want to happen for you. And I put those together, and that's what this book is. So the first iteration of the book was in 2006, so that I had something to sell at that event. And my publisher at the time was Office Max. And then in 2013, I had the world's best top literary agent, I still do, who represents Eckhart Tolle and Neil Donald Walsh and Ariel Ford and everybody. And he wanted a book proposal. Yay. Oh, heck, I'm terrified of doing that. So I thought, well, maybe if I published the book for real and had a book launch and became a bestseller, nobody would notice that I was procrastinating on writing a book proposal. So right. I launched this book in 2013. It went to #1 in 7 countries, including 3 that don't speak English. And it's my favorite thing because people get results without me having to do the effort. And then once they got results, they make ideal clients. Like my client, owner client, now she's the owner. At the time, she wasn't. From Florida, contacted me after she had had her first $250,000 sales month using my book. I had never met her before, but I saw that and I thought, well, heck, at least we know my stuff works on her. Great. And so she hired me for a year, and now she owns the company that she used to be a salesperson for. So,
because once people get results, they still want to keep coming back. They're like, hey, this really works. Let's keep doing it. Let's keep working at it. Because, if it can just bring me more abundance, then why not?
Well, the one thing I can promise is I can always take somebody farther safely than you can take yourself. So you can get great results, and I want you to get great results. And by the way, that may be enough for you, and that's fantastic. And there's always just enough people who want to go farther. Maybe it's money, maybe it's love, maybe it's happiness, whatever it is. And they just reach out to me on my website and they fill out an application form, and so that I can feel like the energy around it, and if it feels like a good fit, and then we have a conversation and we decide what to do together. But in the meanwhile, I'm at a place, because I have to get married 100 times in 100 countries, that I don't want hundreds or thousands of clients anymore. I've done that. I like to have just my own little coven of rich, witchy women who are doing big things to save the world in their own unique ways. But I also want to help everybody I can. So I try to give you everything that I can on this podcast. And with the gentleness and the knowing, be kind to yourself, be easy on yourself, and know that what I didn't answer here, go to my website, morganaray.com. I have hundreds of videos and articles on my blog. I have my money love quiz so that you can see where you are, and I can make a curated recommendation for what your next step is, including free stuff. And for most of you, your next best step is just to do it on your own with my book. And the most important thing I can say all in this whole hour together is if anything interesting happens, let me know, because that's my favorite thing in the world. Let me know what happens. Just go to my website, shoot me a note. I live for that. That's what makes my day.
Yeah, that's where it's all at. Is that feedback and confirmation. That's perfect. Thank you so much for being here and talking to my audience about, all these financial tips and ways to slay your financial monster. I really appreciate it. And everything that All the information that you'll need to contact Morgana will be in the description box. I want to thank you everyone for watching. If you're watching this on YouTube, and if you're listening to this on the podcasting platforms, thank you for listening. And I will be back with another episode. Thanks again. Take care. Bye.